This is Frölunda Torg. It is located 7 kilometers south of the Gothenburg city center. The shopping mall at Frölunda Torg has 200 stores and a lot of housing in close proximity. It is also located close to Söderleden and has therefore become a transit hub for a lot of people changing from bus to tram and the other way around. All of this results in dense crowds during rush hour at Frölunda Torg tram station. Many of the current design choices imposes complications for people with disabilities. This study focuses on improving the situation for people with varying degrees of visual impairment and people in the need of using a wheelchair to get around. The main issues with Frölunda Torg can be boiled down to problems with maneuverability, improper presentation of information, and general inclusion. The biggest issue is that the tram tracks are located below ground in reference to the buses. This forces all transiting passengers to either use one of the staircases, the elevator, or one of the ramps in order to reach the lower level. On the lower level, there are 2 platforms. The southbound trams coming from Gothenburg stop on the side with the big staircase, while the northbound trams heading to Gothenburg stop on the shopping mall side. The least accessible of the 2 platforms is the northbound one, mostly due to the lack of space. The location of this staircase results in a very narrow section that is hard to maneuver in a wheelchair. The staircase itself is also very narrow, making it risky to use during rush hour. There is also a strange inconsistency with the tactile paving. From the lower level, it is easy to find the right side handrail if the tactile paving is followed. However, the tactile path does not continue upstairs, causing confusion for this person with mild visual impairment that usually feel the tactile paving with his feet. He has no other choice than to feel his way by the wall, forcing him to expose his impairment more than needed, making him feel excluded. The northbound platform also has a lot of unnecessary obstacles that are hard to maneuver for blind people. The first is this bench. It is easy for people using a cane to maneuver to get stuck in various ways, due to the design and placement so close to the wall. The second obstacle is this trash can next to the bench. Since it is located a bit too far from the wall, a space is created that a blind person's cane can easily make its way into. This trash can also makes an already narrow platform even tighter. The information board a bit further up the platform is located in an uncomfortable height for people using wheelchairs, as well as the timetables. They are located all around this pillar, forcing people in wheelchairs to use the ramp in order to read. The second trash can is also making the platform unnecessarily tight, and it makes it harder to get onto the ramp that lead to the shopping mall. This ramp is otherwise well designed and does not impose a big obstacle for people in wheelchairs. Furthermore, due to the lack of information about it being an elevator in the shopping mall the people heading northbound can use, as well as the staircase being narrow and hard to maneuver, this results in a large amount of people using the southbound access points to get to the lower level and then crossing the tracks, exposing themselves to higher risk. Since the crossing is generally crowded with a lot of trams departing, it is hard to know when it's safe to use it. However, a nice feature is the differing heights of the edge to the tracks, making it easy for wheelchair users to cross them, while at the same time telling a blind person that they are entering the tracks. The accessibility of the southbound side is a great deal better, with tactile paving that is easily found for the people who need it. On this side, the tactile paving exists both upstairs and downstairs, as well as the staircase is much wider, less frightening and more inclusive to use. Behind the staircase, there is an entrance to the two elevators leading to the southbound platform. At first glance, it's easy to believe they have a high degree of accessibility, with tactile paving leading to the doors. However, because this blind person gets directed to the doors, he has to feel his way to the bottom. This is not an easy feat since the button is small and hard to find. The sanitary conditions of the elevator is unhygienic to say the least. It reeks of urine and does not seem to have been cleaned in a long time. The sign on the outside even asks people to behave and take care of the elevator, hinting that the problem with inclusive design is bigger than anticipated here. This girl does not enjoy having to use this elevator to get to the lower level. It's also too narrow for her to turn around, forcing her to back out. It is therefore a pity there is no signs telling her about the great elevator inside the shopping mall that she is able to use during a very large part of the day when the mall is open. It offers a much more respectful use scenario, making her feel much less exposed and more included. There are some signs at Frölunda Torg, although they are quite few and in some cases hard to spot. The wide staircase on the southbound side was built about 10 years ago and is one of the latest additions to Frölunda Torg tram station. Some very nice design choices have been made here, such as these extra lower handrails, the contrast dots on the first and last steps, as well as the ramp. However, it still has its downsides, such as the tactile paving that only leads the user to the first handrails but not the second, making it hard to stay on track. There is neither any tactile paving on the end of the staircase leading to the platform. The very long ramp is mostly useful for people pushing strollers and not as much for people using manually powered wheelchairs. It took this girl 3.5 minutes to complete the ramp, and she was exhausted when reaching the top, leaving many people no choice but to use the disgusting elevator from before, due to the second ramp being even harder to use because of its bad condition, with a very steep gradient in the beginning and really large potholes along the side. We hope this film gave a nice overview of the problems visually impaired and people in wheelchairs face at Frölunda Torg. But now to the solutions. How do we make this a more inclusive and pleasant place for a larger group of people?